This is a Chromebook.
Oh, it is? I wasn't sure.
And Zoom runs on a Chromebook as well. But you have to know what the address is, pwa.zoom. PWA/.
And is that something that's written down, or are those
I'll
things
make sure
that
it's written down.
you and I need to go through?
I'll make sure it's written down. It's up here, but it's gonna be on paper this week, so. I'll be back.
Alrighty. I'll be here.
You'll stay here,
Mhm.
just in case anybody else shows up online?
Sure thing.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. I'm not sure how I made it here earlier than normal this morning. I guess it's my sleep patterns.
My son's an insomniac, and I asked him, he texted me this morning, and I asked him, how'd you sleep? And he said, a lot, which is surprising, because normally he gets like 4 hours even with medication.
Yeah.
So how are things up at the cabin?
Not bad. It is a nut year. And we have 8 nut trees. So we're facing a lot of fall cleanup, but we kind of are thinking that maybe with as dry and as hot as it was, and we had some freak really cold days in spring up there, that maybe we won't have as many nuts as normal. Not seeing much
Are they
down.
nuts you can eat?
Acorns
Oh,
and hickory nuts. But let me tell you, to get to the part that you eat of a hickory nut, oh, it's a lot of work. It is not worth, it took us hours and we came up with like a little baby food jar of nuts.
oh my God.
You know, you have the big golf ball shell that usually breaks into 4 or 5 pieces when it hits the ground. But then you have this other one about the size of a quarter silver dollar. And that's the really hard one. And the meat inside of that, we've tried cooking them. Nothing really softens the shell.
Unbelievable.
And a lot of people use them, but ours are basically squirrel food. So,
We have a lot of squirrels around our complex. I don't know what they eat.
garbage.
Yeah, I've seen them crawling out of the garbage.
No matter how many times they replace our dumpster, it only takes about a month for them to chew right through the plastic on the top to create a hole for them to get in and out. So I keep telling them, don't bother changing it. Because it doesn't stop them.
Hi, Tom.
Hello.
One more Sunday after this.
I know. I have very mixed emotions over that. I'm gonna miss you guys.
Sorry.
I will.
It'd be nice if we knew where we were going. It's not helping my anxiety any.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's not helping mine either.
You have a new pastor coming in.
I know. It's just a lot of semantics on my mind.
Oh, yeah.
And my brain likes 4 o'clock to pick up on those. 4 o'clock in the morning,
Of course.
of course.
I usually go to bed around 9:30. And, I've been waking up at like 4. And I'm like, nope, not getting up too early. I used to get up at 4, no problem. The morning was my morning time.
Yeah, I do enjoy that though. I can sleep downstairs and the rest of the house stays sleeping. I
Yeah.
just get to have my coffee and stuff.
Yeah. Read my Bible.
Mm-hmm. That was my grandma.
Yeah.
I always remember, she'd get up in the morning, if I would sleep at her house, she'd get up in the morning. She had a little, like, I don't know if you call it a makeup table or what it was, with this big round mirror. She had a chair right next to it. And she read her portals of prayer every morning. Every morning. That was the first thing she did. She got out of bed, put her slippers on, and went and sat in her chair and read her devotions. And I never forget that. And I think that's why I like that quiet in the morning. Of course, then she'd come around and she'd hear I was awake and she'd chase me around the house without her teeth in, you know? Ah, yeah. Oh, the days.
My brother had us out to his house yesterday. He's got a lake, he's on a lake,
Mm-hmm.
and, he's on Deep Lake, up in Lake Villa.
Is it deep?
The deepest part, I think he said was to 85 feet.
Oh, that's deep. Our deepest part's probably 10. It's a very shallow lake.
Yeah, it was beautiful out there sitting by the lake, but when I sit out there, when I go there and sit out there, it's like I come home and out. That relaxation just hits me and I'm just tired for days. I don't know why.
It's because his peace is on the water. I feel that same way when I drink my coffee at the end of the pier.
Yeah. It's just so peaceful out there.
Same thing I've been handing out every week. But since nobody's taking them.
Nobody's taking them? Did you give these out last week then?
Yeah,
Okay, so then I have one.
Were you here last week?
I was on Zoom,
But you didn't have
so I didn't have them.
them. Caught you on that one, didn't I?
Yeah.
Okay,
Are these part of our homework?
yes,
Okay.
there will be a quiz next week,
A pop quiz.
but it'll be a pop quiz, yeah. Can I study for it? No, it's a pop quiz.
well, I guess you could restudy everything that you learned.
Multiple choice?
True, false.
Oh, I hate those. I'm not a true false test taker. I read too much into the question. I fill in the blanks.
Fill in the blank tests are hard, aren't they?
True, false, you have a 50-50 chance of being right.
Yeah, and I got a 50-50 chance of being wrong.
More of a chance of being wrong, actually.
I had a psychology teacher who gave us, we'd have a quiz every Tuesday morning. And he'd give you a pegboard and a little sheet and a poker. And you put your quiz sheet on here and it was immediate gratification. So
If you hit the right.
if you hit the right one, your poker went all the way through.
Oh, my goodness.
And if you didn't, you got another try.
Oh,
So.
See, now
you
what I
could-
would have done was move the sheet to where.
So when your sheet was put onto the board, you'd see people tapping on, it. Does this sound hollow? Oh, I didn't like it. But you knew right away how you did.
yeah.
One way or
Immediate
the
grade, yeah.
other. You looked like the Colonel Sanders.
White beard.
Yeah. Very much the motif of a psychology teacher.
Yes.
So it looks like no one is tuning in online.
Yeah, Craig's in Wisconsin at his dad's place.
And that clock is 3 minutes past.
Yeah,
Talk amongst yourselves. I'm gonna go spend some time in the restroom for
Tim should be here soon.
more than 3 minutes, but you guys can figure it out. Read the checklist. Talk about it.
Yeah, somebody came up to me last Sunday and was telling me that the weekend Pastor Singer was here. He had noticed somebody he didn't know, and they were guests.
Mm-hmm.
And he talked to them for a little bit. And then he heard them say as they were walking away to leave after he had talked to them that nobody acknowledged them. Nobody said anything to them.
Hmm.
And that's not good.
Pastor Singer said that?
No.
no, it's a
Church
couple.
never told me about it.
Was it a
Oh,
couple?
okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I mean, this person cried and he said that we're not so, well, it was a gentleman and he said, it makes me sad that we're not welcoming these people into our church.
Yeah. I saw that couple. Did I? Oh, no, I wasn't here last week. I
No, it
didn't
was
see that.
2 weeks ago.
before.
Oh, 2 weeks ago. Yeah. I was.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah.
As we were setting
It
up.
was an older couple sitting on the right side of the church.
I don't know.
And the other thing that makes it, I think that makes it, it hard for me
Mhm.
is that they come in, they get a bulletin and they go and sit down.
All right.
They don't stand out where everyone is talking. They just immediately go in and they sit. Well, some people who do that, and we have members that are here that are like that,
Right,
that's their time of premeditation
right.
and whatever. So those are the people that I don't go up and talk to them when they're in the pew. And it's hard. The other thing that I battle is that, there's people that catch you all around and you don't have the time. It's like you have to be the designated person
There has to be.
Who has
designated
to
greeters.
to go in and get them. And it can't be me because I get torn
Right, you.
in 12 different directions in the morning when I'm here. Rich wants to talk about this, Brian wants to talk about that. Somebody's got some, little old lady's got something to always say,
Right. Well, and that's what I think.
And it makes it, we probably should make it with the ushers a protocol that if their face doesn't look familiar,
To point it out.
hand them the other bulletin.
Yeah, we talked about that
Yeah.
last week.
Yeah.
And that's key.
Yeah,
Because
Yeah,
if they are not used to whatever
yeah,
with the hymnal and that, then we just, and we have it. It's not like we don't have it available.
well, we need to make more.
But we can do that though. We'll make less of the others.
I think another thing too is if you notice somebody in a pew that you don't recognize, sit in that pew with them. So if they handshake a piece, you can turn right to them and say, welcome to our church.
I will say that at that point, I always do look for them
Yeah.
and go up to whoever I don't know. And typically whoever I don't know is either a member's kid or they're a visitor.
All right, and I've done that before too, go up to people that I see standing off by themselves, so I think, well, they might be new, and find out they're somebody's children. Or I've had that happen on occasion when we've had staff members, open arm staff members here. And find out, oh, I'm a teacher, or I work at.
And see, and that's probably, and that's something that I need to, I guess, we need to encourage the staff that when they go through that, say, hey, you know what, nice to meet you, I'm so-and-so, the threes teacher, I'm so-and-so, I'm the fours teacher at Open Arms. But do more than just, I mean, I always welcome them, we're glad to see you here, but it has to be a conscious effort.
Right, and like I was saying, or like you were saying, you have to have somebody,
Yeah,
greeters,
yeah,
that do that stand at the door
and it gets tougher because fewer and fewer people are here weekly.
Right,
I mean, I'm guilty as charged, I can be on Zoom, but I'm not physically in the building every week.
right.
Of course, I'm in the building from Monday through Saturday, so.
Yes.
But the signs, and I guess part of the hesitancy, I guess we can put things up, and part of my hesitancy has always been the construction, and we've had road construction. This is the 4th year in a row.
Really?
Yeah. We had the bridge construction over here, that was 2 seasons worth. Then one half of the bridge one year, and this other half of the bridge the other year. Then NICOR was in last year and tore everything out. NICOR's who left that lovely, ugly patch that wasn't done well in the parking lot over there. And there's no extra in there? Oh, you know what, Marty was sick. He sounded horrible.
You can put that in the garbage.
I know. But I didn't have to say anything.
We were just talking about that couple 2 weeks ago that we heard about.
Oh, we weren't here.
No.
Tom, were you here 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, we were, I kind of remember them. But, I mean, if they got a bulletin, I said, I welcome them.
But did anybody talk with him? That was the thing.
Well, I can't because I'm handing out
Morning,
bulletins,
Bruce.
ringing the bell.
Which is why we need someone else to be a greeter, like
Yeah.
Bruce. Bruce could be a great greeter.
He is a good reader.
Oh, how much did they pay you to say that?
If it was a paid position, Bruce would do it.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Actually, readers got my glasses, because I don't have them with me, that's a good thing.
Hi, John. Good morning.
Hey, Debbie.
Morning.
Good morning.
Judy is coming to church, so she says, you couldn't make it in time for this, but her beautification process takes longer than mine.
My beautification
Yeah.
process takes longer.
Don't let her hear that.
Yeah.
Don't say that. That's not.
Oh, she knows. But fortunately, she does, is more successful at it, let's call it.
More successful.
You can see.
Must be why it
She
takes.
has higher standards.
It's a higher standard, yeah. So let's open with a short word of prayer. Dear God, we come to you this morning asking for your guidance and your assistance. Send your Holy Spirit to be among us as we prepare to invite and welcome new guests to our congregation. We ask you to be with us as we learn from your word and from those around us as to how we should proceed. We ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
So we have been talking for the last few weeks about becoming a welcoming congregation, and that involves inviting people to our congregation and what happens when they get here. Last week, we talked about the fact that the parking lot is a bookend for the experience of a visitor, right? If you showed up in this parking lot where the doors open, not now.
Nope, tried it.
If you showed up in that parking lot, would you know where to go? Because there's doors over there. So I'm just asking you to get your ideas in mind of looking at this place through the eyes of a person who's never been here. Come in and walk through as though you have never been here. Look around and see things that don't necessarily need to be here, or things that need some direction as to where you should go, right? We talked about the fact that the youth room, we have Sunday school in the youth room. So when people bring their kids to Sunday school, they're just supposed to go to the youth room. Where is that, right? Over there. She knows where it is. Daryl was here last week, said, I have no idea where the youth room is, right? If we tell them to go to the gym, where's the gym? Oh, we're holding it in the gym. Well, from outside, you can't see which side is the gym, right? So signage.
I would beg to differ on that one, but it's okay.
Well,
If you can't tell the gymnasium from the church.
Yeah, but how you get there is the question.
you're parking in the parking
Yeah.
lot.
I guess.
People get lost here all the time.
Yeah, I get lost here all the time.
Yeah, I still get lost.
And with all those
I'm
cones
not a
out
good
there.
person to try that test.
So the idea is signage in the parking lot is a simple solution, right? Signage on the doors is a simple solution. Having someone out in the parking lot to help move people in the right direction is a simple solution. Doesn't cost a lot of money to have somebody standing at each door and saying, good morning, head upstairs. We'll have, we'll be doing that upstairs, or head downstairs. We're meeting in the fellowship hall, right? Real simple solutions, very little cost involved, but simple signage, easy, being able to direct people to the right place. One of the things they emphasized in the video last week was that when people come to church and we have our announcements, don't give them 82 things that are going on in the church. Focus on the most important next step for the visitor, right? 2 weeks ago, Kathy and I were not here. Last week, Ralph Newman came up to me. He was very concerned about the fact that we had visitors here the previous week. And he talked with them. There are people who cannot talk with them because, the ushers are handing out bulletins and other people are doing other things. But you had visitors here 2 weeks ago. And he was very concerned that he talked with them as they were getting ready to leave because no one else had spoken to them. And they commented, and he heard as they were walking down the stairs, he's the only one to talk to us. Nobody else talked to us. So what kind of impression did they have? Right? First of all, they had trouble figuring out where the sanctuary was. Secondly, when they came in, nobody talked to them. And when they left, nobody talked to them.
Well, some people don't like to be talked to. They just want to come and go. But yeah, but you don't know.
You don't know until you
don't
actually
know.
talk to them, right?
Right. At least say hi or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Tom and I do that, don't we? I mean, we try
Well,
to.
Tom greets them as he hands them the bulletin, but he can't spend time talking to them.
All right, I'll take them up to the bell tower and show them how we ring the bell.
Oh, you're new here. Come up with me.
No, don't take them upstairs. It's a disaster up there.
But the idea is, if you see someone that you don't recognize, for me, when I started here, I didn't recognize anybody. And everybody was wearing masks. So
Yeah.
even for the first 6 months, I didn't recognize anybody. All I'm seeing is the eyes.
Yeah.
But if you see somebody that you don't recognize, somebody possibly who has not been here for a while, if somebody shows up that has been missing from your congregation, go up and say something to them. If someone is unclear as to what they're doing in the service, that happens a lot with our service, maybe you could invite them to sit next to you, or you could say, I don't know you, but I'd like to help you out. Would you mind if I sit next to you, right? Go sit next to somebody you don't know and possibly help them through the liturgy of the service, right? when we had the farewell and Godspeed for Carol Andres, we had teachers from the school in our service that had not been through a service like this before, right?
Yeah.
And they were sitting there with this bulletin, the booklet, and they come up to a title for a hymn. Now what do I do? For us, it's obvious. You pull out the hymnal, right? For them, it was not obvious. Somebody had to say, use the book. And then they had to show them how to use the book, right? So if you've got guests here, think in terms of how you can make them feel more comfortable and work their way through how we are doing worship, right? The stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down is pretty obvious. It says that right in the bulletin, right? And you see the pastor making motions about that, but they're not sure what they're doing when they're standing, right? So the idea is to make the visitors feel more comfortable about how we're doing things, and then starting to build a relationship. It starts when they walk through the door rather than as they're leaving, okay? So we're gonna get into another video here, and I'll stop it along the way. See if I can share the screen. I'll close that over so we don't have those. This is all being recorded, by the way, so we can review it later, or you can review it later. And this is mobilizing your members to equip your church. Full screen on this.
Well, Pastor, when you think about the people in your church, what do you want them to do? I mean, I know you want them to believe certain things and you probably want them to know certain things, but what do you truly want the people in your church, your congregation, to do? When we ask that questions and we hear back from pastors, we hear three things that stand out over and over and over again. And there's many on the list, but these three rise to the top. Pastors are saying, you know what? We want our people to give. Like we need them to give money. Like it costs money to have a church, right? So we need them to give. And how do we do that better? And then we want them to serve. Like we have ministries where we need greeters and we need ushers. We need people to work with children. We need them to serve. And then third, we want them to invite. I mean, I wish our church would just invite their friends and their neighbors and coworkers, because I don't know all those people. I've invited all the people I know. We need our church to invite their people. And those three things, give, serve, and invite. At Churchill, we talk about those being key actions, three of the key actions that you want people to take. I know there's other things, but imagine what would happen in your church if all of your people began to give, continue to serve, and started inviting their friends, neighbors, and coworkers to come to church. I mean, that would change the culture in your church. It would change the dynamic of your church. It would change who's in the room. And those actions, that's what we're talking about in this series of master classes. And in this one, we're zooming in on the inviting piece. So I've invited my friend Jason Young, who is on the team at North Point Ministries and is just so well versed in creating culture and in serving guests and creating that environment. I've asked him to come and share some very practical things that we can do to equip our people to invite their people to come to church. So let's listen in.
Have you ever said this phrase, we've got a good thing going. However, it's like people don't want to invite their family, their friends to come to church. So, Pastor, let me ask you this question. What exactly do you want the people that regularly attend your church, what do you want them to do? I mean, I think sometimes the assumption is built in that they already know. But the reality is maybe they don't. In fact, assume they don't. And that's what I'd love for us to talk about today. In fact, this isn't a comprehensive list, but there are three things that we often hear that pastors want other people to do. They want them to give financially. They want them to serve or volunteer, and they want them to invite. And so what I'd love to do is I'd love to kind of camp out on inviting somebody. I mean, it's one of those keystone habits. In fact, ultimately, you want your people to grow and you want your church to grow. And inviting people, new people to your church actually helps the people in your church to grow and your church to grow. So I'd love to kind of camp out on that and ask this question. How do we get the people that regularly attend our church people, if you will, to invite other people, family, friends, neighbors, new people, people our kids play sports with, whoever they may be. How do we invite them to our church? Well, let me give you a couple ideas. One is we've actually got to prepare for guests. I know you're thinking, well, that sounds so elementary to think about, but making preparations critical to the success of setting the stage, of inviting people, but not only that, letting people know, the regular attendees, the church members, those that come Sunday after Sunday, preparing them and preparing the church to be ready. So here's a phrase that you may resonate with. Ready? Everybody invited is not the same as everyone welcome. Everybody invited is not the same as everyone welcome. In fact, we talked about that in the first video. And you see, it's kind of like, has an invitation ever gone out, maybe to a party, to your wedding maybe, or to some type of event that maybe you're responsible for, and you invited them, but secretly you didn't want them to show up? I know that's been the case in my own life, and maybe you can echo that as well. And you know what? Maybe the church is like that. I mean, not intentionally, but maybe we accidentally become just that. Here's another thought. You might not be as guest friendly as you think you are. You say, well, that sounds harsh. That sounds rather abrupt and direct and honest. But sometimes the closer you are to something, you believe your own hype. You think you're better than you are. And maybe you're great. This is not knocking it either way. It's just a reality that's often found in the local church. You know who's the greatest indicator of how friendly you are? Is how many people are willing to come and how many are willing to come back. So everybody invited is not the same as everybody welcome. You might not be as guest friendly as you think you are. Where a lot of churches, they say, we are a welcoming church. But the truth is, you're an insider church focused on welcoming the people who are already there, not outward facing, welcoming the people who are not there yet. You see, there's a phrase. It says, what's extremely familiar to you is extremely personal to somebody else. You see, you may be uber friendly with how things go in your church. I'm very familiar with how we do things in our church. But what I have to remember is, just because I'm familiar with it, some days I actually might forget the personal nature or the personal driven decisions that people are making to come to church. And they're not familiar with how we do things, with the language we use, which we'll talk about. So here's another idea. Be authentically public with this focus. In other words, don't just talk about it, but teach your people why we're doing it. Like, why is it important to talk about guests, to focus on guests, to create this preparatory experience or environment that we want to create for the people that aren't here yet. So it could look like this. We're going to redo our website. Why? We want to make sure that it's more community-centric. We want to make sure that it's guest-centric. We're going to evaluate our church service with a new person in mind, thinking about, one thing I love that we do in our church is we actually, at the very top of the hour, we let people know how long they can expect to be in the room. Why is it important? One thing we've discovered is men and women may feel this way, but one thing we've learned, men want to know, how long am I going to be here? And so we just actually answer the question. Another question people often ask is, how many songs are we going to sing? Do I have to sing? What if I don't know them? Will people hear me? Why not just answer that stuff very quickly? It lets people know, that new guest, it lets them know that you see them. That's empathy. And it lets them experience what being disarmed is all about. So evaluate your service with the new person in mind, not the people closest to the scene. And Put together a follow-up team. Well, what does that even look like? Well, think about a guest comes and what does follow-up look like? Is it a phone call? Is it an email? Is it a text message? Is it, what is it contextually that fits your church? And is it maybe a preferred method of contact or a preferred way that the guest would like to hear from you? So one thing that's important is make sure everything you do is sensitive to the new person. If you're going to use theological language, explain it. If you're going to use certain terminology, explain it. Don't assume that everybody in the room knows what you're talking about. So, number one, prepare for the new guest, right? So create this preparation that you just go to super distance to create and prepare the environment. Number two, equip your church with relevant tools. Now, I know that some of you are phenomenal at this. And others of you, maybe this is a new way to think, or maybe you need to retool some of your tools. But hey, listen, if you're going to ask your people to invite a guest, maybe they don't know how. Maybe the ask that you are making needs some tools, some resources, very basic. Let's talk about some of those. Invite cards. You're like, oh, what are those? Well, just think it's just a little small card, very inexpensive to print, and they are able to give that to somebody. Maybe they bump into at the grocery store, or they see at the retail store, or at the gas station, or maybe it's a neighbor. Maybe you could even take a physically printed card and digitize it. And people can circulate that via email, or, they could drop it in somebody's DM or whatever it looks like. But it's just a way for them to invite somebody else.
So I'm going to stop it there and offer some time for discussion about what you've just heard. I had a niece that invited us to a wedding in Hawaii, and I got the invitation 2 weeks before the wedding was supposed to happen. Do you think she wanted me there?
Wow, it got lost in the mail, huh?
No. It was more of an afterthought. Oh, we need to invite Uncle Jim. We're already in Hawaii, but we forgot to invite Uncle Jim. Like I already have standing reservations to go to Hawaii, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think one thing that needs to be thought about is when you're thinking about inviting people, and yes, the number one thing is to point them to God. The number two thing is to bring them to a house of God, which we would like to bring them to our house of God. But you have to think, if we don't bring in new members, how long are we going to live? How long is this church going to be alive?
And that was Ralph Newman's concern. He wants this church to continue, but if we're not welcoming to new people, he fears that it's going to die rather quickly.
You gotta be kind of delicate, though.
And
I
Henry
remember one time I said.
Henry
somebody came
Settlemyer
in-
says, all my friends are across the street.
Yeah. I remember one time this couple came in and I go, oh, hi, welcome to Emmanuel. And they're like, we've been members here for 40 years.
But why haven't you been here in the
Oh,
last 10?
I haven't, oh, I'm sorry, I don't recognize you. Well, we come every Christmas, we come every Easter.
Yeah, that's the.
We're here all the time, every Christmas, every Easter, and a couple times, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, sorry. They were really offended that I said that
Here's a tip. If
I
you don't
thought they were new
recognize,
people.
if you don't, one thing I learned from Pastor a long time ago is, if you don't recognize him, you walk up and say, I should know your name.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right? Not welcome to Emmanuel, but I'm sorry, I should know your name.
And then they go, but I know your name's Bruce, you don't know my name?
My mind. And then you start the conversation. Oh yeah, I remember you now. I just couldn't remember your name. I knew the face.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, it's a dance, it's a little dance.
It's a little dance, but it's less offensive to those people who come on Christmas or Easter. Sometimes it's one or the other.
Yeah.
And that's one thing you can do, when folks are coming in and I see people as we're doing the passing of the peace, I'll walk up and say, I should know your name. I'm sorry, I should know your name. And then they introduce themselves. I'm so-and-so's sister, so, oh, okay. Well, you're related to somebody in the congregation. we'll get to that later. But it's a way of sort of warming up rather than just a cold in your face, welcome to Emmanuel.
Yeah, well, there's some people that no matter what you say to them, they're gonna be
They're gonna
offended.
be offended.
You know, they're just,
Have you met our new pastor? What new pastor? And in a couple of weeks, you're going to have a new pastor, right? You're all aware of that. So when the new pastor comes, he's not gonna be familiar with anything either. So it's gonna be a little bit like the blind leading the blind, because he's going to have his way of doing things, and nobody in the congregation is going to know what those are until he starts doing them. So when guests come, and they will come on October 8th, it's going to be new to the pastor, but it's also going to be new to them. And you're sitting in the middle with everybody thinking, well, this is new. So everybody is as uncomfortable as the pastor at that point. You've got an opportunity now when everybody's uncomfortable to try and make people a little more comfortable. Does that make sense? Now, Kathy has signed up for the GROW program. And if any of you are interested in joining the team on the GROW program to understand what this is about, she would welcome your help. Just tell her your name and she'll put your email address in there and you'll start getting emails from the GROW campaign. And what the GROW campaign is doing is, for us, they have a team of 20 people that are actually working on Google Ads. You know what Google Ads do? When someone searches for a keyword, it pops up the ad in front of them. It's on that list of websites to go to. So someone Googles, for instance, preschool in Glenview, Open Arms should come up in that. All right. When they're looking for a church, and the Spirit is moving in this community, I can guarantee you the Spirit is moving in this community with the kind of things we're getting through the Glue platform. We are getting a lot of stuff where people are hurting and looking for some assistance in terms of spiritual help, right? I've just lost my boyfriend of 11 years who's been living with me, but he had another wife, right? And he was riding a motorcycle, got killed, and his former wife took care of all the funeral arrangements and didn't invite me. She's crushed. She doesn't have any closure. What does she do? She reaches out through the Church's Care campaign, trying to find some way to deal with
It's
that.
a sad situation.
Yeah, and I'm hitting, all these things are coming through to us now. So if you'd like to deal with some of the explorers, we'll put you on the Glue campaign as well. All right, so we got Glue and Grow, two separate campaigns, but we know from the Glue campaign, there are many, many spiritual issues out in this community that are coming to us and looking for some guidance. And as we draw them into a relationship through the text messaging and through phone calls, then they're going to be coming through the doors and looking for some spiritual guidance here as well.
And the GROW campaign is a combination of Church Marketing University and Church Fuel, which is what this video is. And my understanding is Church Fuel, we can add as many members as we want on the Church Fuel side.
Yeah.
And
You could
there
have the entire
are
congregation.
all these types of trainings and videos and all kinds of education to help us. You know, we always say, well, if somebody would just show us how to do it. Well, now
It's
we
there.
really have no excuse because they're showing how to do it. And they have had success with these trainings. So if you want to take part in any of these, please let me know. Right now, I have Pastor Jim and Mike Snodgrass. So, but yeah, these provide amazing training.
Once she gives you access, you've got everything that's at Church Marketing University and everything at Church Fuel at your disposal. And the training
Right.
courses for everything there. So if there's an interest or you want to continue training other people in the congregation, pick something that's of interest to you and you can show a video like this and then talk about it.
Something else to think about too is if you invite somebody to a function, not necessarily to church, because you don't know where they are spiritually, but you invite them to a function, invite them, don't just, I think of things where you can invite the public in, or you can invite a friend in.
Before
Not just
church,
the church.
because some people don't want to walk through the doors of the church
Yeah.
until they know some of the people that are there. Yeah. So Oktoberfest, start inviting people to Oktoberfest. Now, when I went through this whole inviting thing with the church in St. Louis, after 8 weeks of talking about inviting one person to come twice a month for 3 months, the head elder comes up to me and says, you know, I've been thinking about this, but I don't know any other Lutherans that don't have a home church. I thought it was obvious. Invite people who don't know Jesus. Invite people who don't have a home church, right? And I'm not looking for other Lutherans to come over here. I'm looking for people who want to know Jesus or should know Jesus, but don't know Jesus, right? So you might, this is Kingdom Impact, which is why we're talking about the Grow campaign doing Google ads. People are seeking, and we're inviting them to come here. What are they seeking? They're not sure. But they know there's something out there that will help them, but they're not sure where it is that they're looking. So you have to guide them through the next best step. Not 82 different things, but the next best step. All right, you're here. We'd like you to invite you to the women's Bible study or to the men's group or something else, right? You have teenage kids. We'd like you to get connected with our youth group that's going on here, right? So just the next best step. Not to all 82 things that are going on here at once, but just the next best step. Okay? Any questions, comments? None yet?
Now, the next best step, I think, I mean, in my business life, I learned less is more, because you can easily overwhelm people.
You
Whether
give them too many choices, there are,
whether it's too many choices or something to read that's more than a page.
Yep.
In many instances, they won't look at it. So
Right.
you want to make.
if they go to a website and they have to do more than 3 clicks, you've lost them.
Yeah,
More than 3 clicks, they're lost. That's the old thing that still holds true for 20 years now. If there's more than 3 clicks they have to go through to get to something, they just stop.
So on your homepage, you put your name, your address, your times, and a map.
On the homepage,
All right,
where they can find it easily.
all right, where they don't have to click through to find something.
Or just put up there at the church across from the cemetery. All right, so we're gonna go on. He's got some more tips for us here.
What about, special events, right? Create a little card, invite. Again, you're equipping people with a tool, a resource to make the invitation a lot easier. Take the time to teach them how to use it. I think, again, it goes back to assumptions. Oh, we'll make things and then we just assume people know how to use it. Assumptions are dangerous, right? So instead of assuming, just teach people how to use the resources and tools that you're going to make for them. A lot of times, if you're anything like me, we'll put whatever we want people to know in an announcement, right? At the top of the hour, at the top of the service. Not everybody's in the room. Sometimes we'll put it on the very back end, right? Because it's, oh, we got to get it in. But what if you gave it a little bit more table time? In other words, what I mean by that is, what if you put it in a prominent place in the service, maybe even in a message, where most of the people in the room hear it and they feel the weight of the importance of what you're saying. So even placement of what you're saying lets people know how important it really is. I love this. Another idea, pre-written social posts, right? We want to use social media. So we'll make an announcement. We'll assume people will write something for social media. And then we're like, why aren't they doing it? Well, maybe they're not doing it because they're busy. Maybe they're not doing it because they don't know what to say. They're afraid to say the wrong thing. Or maybe they do it, but it's not what is most helpful. So beat them to it. Write the posts and say, hey, copy and paste this. Copy and paste it or contextualize it or personalize it and let them share it. Why? because you're saving them time. So it eliminates the busy excuse. You're getting them to say exactly what you need them to say. So it's helpful, right? And they're not feeling the burden that, oh, I'm going to mess it up, because you've already done it for them. So you're just making them, you're just setting them up well to invite other people by crafting these social media posts. Another thing that you could do is encourage selfies. This is fun. So people share things that are fun and funny. People share things that are helpful. So if you had check-in, it's helpful for people to know what check-ins look like. Oh, so-and-so checked in, or I checked in, or whatever. It just, the more people see that, it's a little bit of a buzz. But selfie photos are amazing, right? And people post them on social. People see what you're doing. It's fun. The backgrounds are fun. I just saw some people do it the other week, right? There's a lot of people that will do it at different holidays or seasonally or whatever makes sense to the church. Special series. But it's fun. It's a fun way for maybe potential guests to see, hey, we're fun here. We're cool. We're casual. But it also is great that when the guests do come, there's something fun for them to do that they might actually share on their social media space. Again, that is.
I'm going to interrupt that. Show of hands, how many of you have social media? 2, 3.
How many what?
Social media.
What about it?
Is LinkedIn social media?
LinkedIn is social
LinkedIn?
media?
No,
You're not on LinkedIn. You're on Facebook.
no, I don't do any of
You're on
that.
X.
I do text.
Text, okay?
Email.
But for those of you who are on social media, do you share any of the posts that are on Emmanuel's Facebook page?
No.
Sometimes I think we can't. I mean, there's not a,
Share.
it seems like the share button's not there, and that's a technical flaw. I mean, I see it on mine, but I'm the one who's physically posting
Right?
on it, and I've been trying to do more of that.
So that people can share it.
But I'm not sure the next person who sees it has that ability.
Yeah, there are posts that
click
come up
share.
as no share.
They can comment, but I don't,
2 Facebook pages, right?
well, we have a mess, is what we have.
So as you're going through this with your next pastor, find out which page is the public page and find out if people can share things from that public page. I know which one is the public page, but your congregation.
Because I mean, like where the devotions are posted, we can't share that.
Yeah, you can.
I don't think so.
Got a share button right on there.
I don't know about that.
I'm on a group page where on a group page, they don't have a share button.
On a group page, they don't have a share button.
All right, so but what I do is I click on the post itself
There you go.
and then click share and share external, and then I can post it to my Facebook page.
Good.
And I'll do that a lot of times because I belong to a couple of Lutheran groups.
So there you go. It's a matter of training the people who are there how to share there, right? So if you click on one of those devotion posts, there is a share button at the bottom of the post. All right? Bruce doesn't use social media. How does he get connected?
Then you text me.
Okay? Text you a link to a website? Would that work?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can just text him a link to the website.
Right.
Text him a link
Just
to the
say,
devotion.
tonight's spaghetti dinner. Don't
Yeah.
forget tonight's spaghetti dinner. Send it out in the text.
Yeah, and then he can share it with his entire list on the group text.
Yeah.
I just think texting works the best, You go to Auto Shop or something.
Yeah.
And you'll get a text. And it'll be like, how did you like your service? People generally will respond. You send them an email, that's like, just gone, right?
I take my car in for service. 10 minutes later, I've got a text saying, I'm your service representative.
Right, exactly.
Text me if there are any questions that you have.
I don't know, that works for me. I don't know,
Any other ideas for how to distribute this? Instead of closing it in on what we've got inside here, how do we share it out?
Well, especially holidays. Especially Christmas where there's so much going on,
I
and so
came to
many
the circle.
services.
Did you come in? It's not open?
It's not.
I better go.
One of our churches, one of the churches we belong to had sent out a mailer saying, you know, in fact, we've even received at our apartment from other churches. What are you doing this holiday season? Join us for service at these times and at this place and.
Yeah.
A little map.
Postcards, yeah.
Yeah,
On my birthday, I get a postcard from my home church. Do we recognize people's birthday beyond the church service?
especially someone who hasn't been here for a while to know they're remembered. We remember them in service, but they don't know because they're not here.
And they're not watching it online,
But
so,
we do it in a newsletter, right Kathy?
but how do they get the
Birthdays
newsletter?
and confirmation dates.
How do we get the newsletter?
Email.
If you haven't been here.
Right, oh, yeah.
How do we know we have your correct email address?
Yep. So I'm gonna stop there. It's at 12 minutes, 58 seconds. And we'll pick this up next week. So those are the kind of things I want you to be thinking about over the next couple of weeks. How do we get connected to the rest of the people that we know and invite them to things that are going on at the church, not necessarily to a church service, because you have other activities that are going on here. I mean, I don't play pickleball, but I can invite other people to come play pickleball, right? I don't play volleyball. Neither of those are good for my knees at this point. I expect Deborah's not gonna invite people to play volleyball here if she's not here, but you can still mention it to your family members. Hey, why don't you go spend some time playing volleyball on Wednesday night? Get to know some of the folks that are there.
It is the best way to know, to get to know people.
Yeah.
It's like the spaghetti dinners and, all that stuff we do.
Yeah,
A
So
Friday
even
night.
when I find my posts, Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yes.
Wednesday. Oh,
Wednesday's grill night. Did
Grill
Bruce
night
know
Wednesday.
that it was grill night on Wednesday?
It is. Yeah. I
yeah,
don't.
I'd love to go to those. I'm always working until like 7 o'clock and it's like, oh, I'm kind of over by now.
But you can send Judy, right?
Yeah.
So those are the kind of things I want you to be thinking about.
You can comment on it.
Like this,
Just
okay.
Hannah and Brian bring their dog.
I click on it. Click on it
Yeah, Judy
again.
goes everywhere with the dog.
Oh, no, this is not gonna work.
No dog.
So I-
So
I'm not sure what I have to change in it.
attached to people. That when you leave them, they're like, you abandoned me, So she feels so guilty that you even leave her for a couple hours.
Yeah.
She likes to bring her everywhere.
Okay, so if I can pull your attention back in, we're at the time for closing, I think. 9:29, we're close. So let's just close with a short word of prayer. Dear God, thank you for the opportunity to discuss how we can welcome those who are guests and how we can invite more people to come to join us here as we worship you, as you serve us with your word and your sacraments. Help us to be sensitive to those around us and invite them to other events besides church, as well as inviting them to come with us to church. Help us to know those folks who are visiting, that we might be welcoming to them and sit with them and guide them through the service, and then ask a little bit about them and help them through the next step, the next best step for them. We ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
See, this morning, I can't even find the Bible study, Emmanuel. Bible study.
I can't even find the Bible study. That's not a good thing.
Oh, wait, here, it's this one.
You found it? You think?
It's not open.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
We'll pick this up again next week.
I guess it is there. Was it always there? I maybe I'm thinking of the other website.
Might be thinking of the other website. It was always there.
Or the
Now you can
other-
find it, huh?